Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
It is, man. It's a great privilege to be here, to be able to come to the community every week and talk about issues that are pertinent for their consciousness, that they can react to, and hopefully that they will be able to benefit by the information that we give them.
And certainly today's show is one that everybody.
Oh my God, this is going to be a fantastic show. I think the state of Indiana is under healthcare siege, and we're going to talk about that today. I'm not afraid to talk about it because I know a lot of people who are going to be in dire straits if this transpires, and there's going to be a lot of things take place. We got to talk about it.
And we're going to talk about that. We have a great guest to do that with, but first, I want to thank our sponsors, Lee, Castle, and Crowley.
We'll take Stuart Mortuary for taking care of the city's bereavement throughout the years.
And the Fervent Care Christian Academy. If you need Christian, clean, caring, convenient child cares and Christian schools, give them a call at 317-898-2751.
Yeah, and remember, Real Voices, Real People are here for your benefit.
And I want you to go to our YouTube channel, WHMB TV 40 YouTube channel, become a subscriber. Also, on social media, you can go to Facebook. Like us on Facebook.
Like us on Facebook. You can run through Facebook, see the pictures, and see what's going on with Real People, Real Voices, because we're doing everything we do here at TV 40 for your benefit.
Going to be talking about the Healthy Indiana Plan with our very special guest, Mr. Fran Quigley. So stay with us. We'll be back after this very important announcement. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and I want to get right to our guest, Mr. Fran Quigley. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Pastor. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. The Healthy Indiana Plan. A lot of controversy.
A lot of controversy
concern.
going on. Yeah. I think, help me to understand something, Attorney Quigley. Our governor, that's eventually going to sign this as an issue that will matriculate through the state. He's really not the author of this, is he?
Right. Yeah, I think that honestly, the good part of the Healthy Indiana Plan, the author is former President Barack Obama and the Congress at the time. The Healthy Indiana Plan is an expansion of Medicaid coverage in Indiana, which 400,000 people have benefited from. So that's terrific. But the idea now that we're going to further restrict that access and start to actually push people off the Healthy Indiana Plan, that's our governor asking permission from the Trump-Pence administration, presumably getting pressure from the Trump-Pence administration to start cutting back and cutting people off of the healthcare rolls, which is really dangerous, obviously.
So he's caught between a rock and a hard place.
I think that's probably pretty fair. He's what you hear is that they're getting, we've heard that a little bit at community meetings in places like Concerned Clergy and others, that they're feeling pressure from the Trump administration, from the Pence administration in Indiana to start cutting back the Affordable Care Act because they don't like the Affordable Care Act.
But tell the community now what it means to have a work requirement in order to get medical relief.
Right. So Indiana has committed, our Governor Holcomb has committed to imposing a work requirement on everybody who is enrolled in the Healthy Indiana Plan. That's 400,000 people in the state of Indiana. It's a lot of people. And so the work requirement, sometimes people will say, the folks from the state will say, oh my goodness, there's going to be exemptions. And if you've got a disability, if you've got caregiving obligations, if you struggle to keep a job, you're not going to have to worry about the work requirement. But unfortunately, we know from prior experience, both in Indiana and around the country, that it doesn't work that way. That there's bureaucracy, there's paperwork, there's notices, there's forms to fill out and proof you've got to provide. And a lot of people, if you impose a work requirement, are going to get cut off even if they can't work.
All right. Now, there was a state just recently that rejected that, I believe. What state was that?
Well, Kentucky actually passed it and was getting ready. Kentucky's governor is ready to impose it on July 1. On June 30th, a federal judge said, no, you don't. That this has nothing to do with actually providing health care, has nothing to do with actually getting people connected to work. This is just about cutting down what in Kentucky they expected 95,000 people to lose their health care as a result of their.
Immediately.
And well, over a course of time, over a short course of time.
Is there a possibility that we can get the same repercussion from a judge here in Indiana?
I think there might be. I think there might be. The Kentucky precedent is good. It's not the end of the road. And as we know, when cases start going up to the courts and the federal courts, sometimes the judges aren't as favorable to people's health care and to people's struggles. So we can't count on the courts, but I think there's a possibility that we may get a lawsuit here in Indiana and an attempt to stop that. But we're not waiting for the courts. Lots of folks in the community are already pushing Governor Holcomb, saying, you don't have to do this. You have a chance to push pause, stop this process, and don't do something that's expensive, that's not going to work, and it's going to hurt a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what is the alternative? Obviously, there are some folks who think this is the right way to go, but what's the other side of it?
Yeah.
What else could be done in lieu of this?
So most states in the country have Medicaid expansion, like the Healthy Indiana Plan. It's just what we call it here in our state. But most of them don't have something called a work requirement. Now, they will encourage people to work if they can. So they'll get them job training, they'll get them connected to job prospects, they'll tell people in the community there's folks who need these jobs, and try to help them with childcare and things like that so that they can work. There's a lot of ways to help people get access to work, but punishing them because they can't get access to work by taking away their health care, very few states are doing that. And so the alternative is what most of the states are doing, which is let's help people get access to work and to health care.
If they can work.
If they can work.
Yeah. So you use the phrase punishment. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's clearly a punishment. The whole idea is that they intend to cut people off of their access to health care if they don't fill out the right forms at the right time and prove the right things in terms of getting access to a job and keeping that job for a lengthy period of time.
So they prohibited that from happening effectively because they took insurance navigators out of the system just about. There are a lot of people who are on these type of insurances. They got there because of people who were professionally trained to navigate them in certain areas, because most of our elderly cannot navigate themselves on computers, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And so now we are limited in the navigation aspect of getting people connected to whatever insurance they need to be connected with. So it's going to be a rough year next year for people who are on state, federal, well, state support, or however you would say, whatever the right wording would be for that. But it's going to be a rough year for people as it relates to health care next year. It's really going to really hit the fan next year.
Right. And I can't agree with you more, Pastor. I'm a lawyer. I teach health and human rights at a law school. I struggle to fill out these forms. I struggle to understand what the bureaucracy is asking of me when I see them or when I help somebody else with them. How do we expect our folks, folks in the community who are stressed, who may not have access to reliable computer access, may just struggle with some of these forms? It's really, and I think it's important to point out, this isn't an accident. This is part of our whether you like them or not, the federal administration, the Trump-Pence administration, does not like the Affordable Care Act. They've tried to get rid of it at Congress. They failed, and so now they are trying to get rid of it
at the
state level. And they're cutting people off this way. They're creating premium requirements that are hard to understand, hard to fulfill, and now the work requirements. That's just part of it. This is all very intentionally difficult. It's not an accident.
So you think, Mr. Quigley, that this is an attack upon President Obama's healthcare policies, or is it an insidious way of trying to get access to some dollars to reallocate towards something else?
Yes.
Or both?
I think the answer, Pastor, is yes. I do think that, and again, this federal judge decision that Pastor Moore referenced from Kentucky started off by saying that. Say, look, you all at the federal government level, at the Trump-Pence administration level, you want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You've said that very clearly, you want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. When you impose these work requirements, you're not kidding us. That's what this is about. It's not about getting people to work. It's not about encouraging employment. It's about cutting people off of the program. And you're right. I think that that would leave dollars available for other priorities, for the tax cuts for the wealthiest folks, and the other priorities that this administration has at the federal level. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about the petition that's out there. And I want people to know who have elderly parents who are on these type of insurances and medical benefits. If they lose their benefits, you're going to have to take care of your parents. You're going to actually have to take care of your aunts, your uncles, those who you're going to have to start paying their medical bills, or try to find some way that they can get medical relief and medical help. And so if there's a petition out there, that needs to be addressed by the community so that we can probably change the consciousness of our governor. He is our governor, and we need to help him make the right decision for the people in whom he governs. And so we're going to bring that up here shortly about this petition. We're going to let you talk about that. Brother Jackson?
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we come back from break. We'll also talk about your advocacy and the things that you're doing to make sure that everybody has access to medicine.
Great, thank you.
So stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. I'm James Jackson, your host.
Co-host Pastor Wayne Moore.
And we're talking about the Healthy Indiana Plan. And here to talk about that with us is Mr. Fran Quigley. Thank you again for joining us.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Just before the break, we talked about the petition that Dr. Moore referenced.
Yeah.
So tell us about the petition and how people can access it.
Well, and Pastor Moore mentioned the fact that there was a lawsuit in in Kentucky which has set down their work requirements for the time being. But frankly, we can't really count on that to hold. We can't count on that to necessarily be the case in Indiana. So it's really exciting that many organizations in the state of Indiana have said, you know what, we need to talk to our governor and say, Governor, press pause. You don't have to do this. And so there's a petition out there that was initiated by Baptist Ministers Alliance, Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis, Indiana Black Legislative Caucus. A lot of different organizations have come together, including our organization, People of Faith for Access to Medicines. And that petition is out there simply saying to Governor Holcomb, you don't have to do this. This is going to hurt people. It's going to cost money, and it's not going to be effective at putting people to work. So press pause. Don't do this. We're your constituents. Please stop this. So the petition is now online. It's being circulated physically at a lot of community events. And if folks want to get access to it, they can go to change.org and just type in HIP work requirements, or they can go to our website, our group website, which is pfamrx.org. I think it's on the screen, correct? pfamrx.org, and it'll have some background information about this as well you can share with other folks.
When is this expected to take place?
The good news for us who are resisting this is that it's rolling out slowly. Kentucky intended to roll theirs out on July 1 of this year. Ours is supposed to roll out in January of 2019. Even then, it rolls out kind of slowly. So folks really, hopefully, aren't going to have that negative effect for quite some time. So we've got a chance to stop this before it really starts kicking people off of health care.
This is a real problem. And I guess hypothetically, if you have someone who is getting the benefit and they've come to a place in their lives where you're on a fixed income, which is not very much.
No.
And you can't work for whatever reason, and this goes into play, then you've got that fixed income and you need to go to the doctor. It seems that you would have a real problem there.
Oh, absolutely.
A major problem.
Right, and we all know this from experience with our family members or people in our community. If folks don't have coverage, they don't go to the doctor until it's too late. They end up in the emergency room with something really serious.
Hospice after that or something.
And that's really, now, among other things, it's horrible for those human beings, horrible for our families, but it's also expensive.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to pay that bill. These are proven to be really bad investments for taxpayers, because if we don't allow people to go to see their doctor routinely, get their medicines routinely, some crisis happens, they go to the hospital, and then it's really expensive care. And usually the taxpayers have to pay that, or the family does.
I think the reason why I'm probably, very outspoken about it is because I have a brother who did not have insurance, and I didn't know he didn't have insurance. He got severely sick and almost died. And what was good about it, when he got to the hospital, they did not turn him away. They took him in. The system began to put him in the system to where he could get the right treatment. I don't say that to embarrass my family member. I say that I've lived it. Mm-hmm. And today he's doing extremely well because he has the proper medical care that he did not have prior to his sickness. And so that's what I'm talking about. Those are real-time situations that can take place, are happening now, and will become a greater scale if this takes place. And so I urge our governor to really reconsider this particular situation for the sake of his constituency, those who vote for him, those who respect him as governor. You need to have a heart about this because people are going to die. People are going to be stressed out. They're going to be worried about what's going on as it relates to they're not going to be able to get insulin. They're not going to be able to get any type of medication if there is no system in place for them to get the treatments that they need. Tell us about your medicine program.
Sure. So I'm part of a group called People of Faith for Access to Medicines, and People of Faith for Access to Medicines is hopefully what the name suggests. We're trying to mobilize the faith community, which can be so incredibly impactful on so many human rights issues. Specifically to this question we have, and we all know this in our families and our communities, people can't afford their medicines. The medicine price keeps going up and up and up, and frankly, the profits from the pharmaceutical companies that have monopolies on the medicines keep going up and up and up. But that means people can't afford their insulin, people can't afford their asthma meds, people can't afford their blood pressure medicines, and they risk, as Pastor Moore said, this is life and death questions. People die because they don't get their insulin. People have strokes because they don't get their blood pressure medicines. The prices don't have to be so high. Every other country in the world that's of any decent size and decent income like ours is keeps their medicine prices much lower. We can do that if we create the political will to do that, and we think the faith community can be a big part of raising people over profits, saying, you know, we need to prioritize that everybody gets access to medicines. Then if you want to make a buck, that's fine. But first, this is healthcare as a human right. Let's do that first.
It is a human right issue. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's interesting. You can get on a cruise ship, and maybe one of your ports of call is in some of the Latin countries there, and you can get off and go into a drugstore and buy a zip pack, an EpiPen, and other drugs for less than $20. But you come back here,
it's $200.
So the medications that they get, it's the same kind, and we're just, it is profits over people.
And we've got to, but it doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be because the pharmaceutical industry, you got to give them credit, is they have done a terrific job of lobbying and of giving campaign dollars and in kind of buying Congress and buying our leadership and getting to the point where now we have rules in the United States where we cannot negotiate down the price Medicare pays for their drugs. That's the biggest difference between us and a place like Canada or the UK or Japan. That's why we pay so much more. We have all kinds of options where we, the people, taxpayers, have paid for the research that created these drugs. Then the monopoly patent is given to a private company. They jack up the price, and then who pays for it in the back end? We do again, either through our programs or us personally out of our pocket. So there's a lot of possibility to reduce those prices. You say, it doesn't cost that much to make the medicines, and a lot of the research is subsidized by taxpayers already. There's an enormous amount of profit being made by one of the most profitable industries in modern capitalist history. They can make a little less profit, and we can afford our medicines. That's what we're pushing for.
Yeah. Do you think there's, ask someone, ask a psychologist about how these things can happen, and people who are at the top and people who have the power of the pen and have influence to make these things happen. I said, well, why is it that people don't do more? And they said, well, it's detachment. If you're making all this money and you live away from the people that are being affected, a lot of times you're detached from what people are going through. And of course, many of us are closer to the issue.
Right, grassroots.
Yeah. And we see the suffering. And Reverend Barber, when he was here,
our friend,
he talked about this possibility of people dying.
Right, he talked about it. He talked about it a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And now it's right up on us. And as he talked, there were substantial legislators there listening at him talk. And so we need to be very conscious of the fact that, we have people knowing what's happening, but not informing the community about what's happening. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who have not been informed by legislation or legislators about this particular situation. But that's neither here nor there. This is what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, if folks would like to, on our website, which I think is on the screen, they can sign up for a newsletter where we'll keep people informed once a month of what's going on in this area, but also opportunities for people to get connected and to share their stories. Because as you say, this detachment, the more that we can lift up and talk about, as you mentioned, so sorry what happened with your brother, but we all, know folks like this. We need to lift up those stories and make sure that our lawmakers and folks in the corporate boardrooms know about the human suffering that we're all seeing in the communities.
Well, thank you. You've been a great guest. appreciate you coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you all. Stay with us. We'll be back with the rundown. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm your executive producer, Faith McKinney.
What a very interesting segment.
I think it was. I think Mr. Fran Quigley came in and gave us some great information as it relates to what's really going to take place in January. I'm hoping the community paid attention to it, especially our governor. I think that it's something that we have to work on him with to put it in a place of neutral until we can come up with something better for our communities.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah, it is. And you, Pastor Moore, you brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
And it's devastating what could happen.
Yeah, you look at young people who don't have jobs, who don't have adequate jobs.
And no one's hiring them.
And no one's hiring in adequate places.
Right.
And so say you have an auntie that's on HIP, and they remove HIP from her. The responsibilities for your aunt's medical condition falls on you as a relative.
Wow.
And you don't have an adequate job to even take care of your own situation. So the poor work every day. We need to be conscious of that. They work every day, and we have to do everything we can do to make sure that they have resources. And anybody that has a problem with something like this who is for this, with something like this taking place, I question them because people are eventually going to get sick and die if they don't have the adequate medical care that they need.
And Dr. Moore, that's a very interesting point. And a lot of times people say, well, that's very, very extreme to say something like that. But I think that's the reality.
It is reality, and we don't want to be desensitized to reality.
Right.
I think that's an issue.
Yeah.
We live it every day.
Yeah. Every
Yeah.
day.
Well, great job bringing that to
Our
show.
attention, Faith.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Our executive producer.
Yeah. She's major.
And we want to thank you all for joining us. Watch us on Sundays at 5:30 p.m., Friday nights at 9:30. Go to YouTube and subscribe to Real People, Real Voices. You can watch this show when it's over, as well as others that you might have missed, to
Yeah.
get all the wonderful information. And Facebook, like us there.
Like us there.
Until next time, we're real people with real voices. Have a great night.
You look good on Facebook, man.